to say.
Good morning, evening, or whatever time of day it is for you. It is your host of Filmjet, Stefan, back again, and I'm so excited about what I'm talking about today. Last time I talked about Star Wars Visions because it's pretty similar to what I'm about to talk about, and that is Tales of the Jedi. If you don't know what that is, it is a collection of short films or episodes, whatever you want to call it, animated in the Clone Wars style, and it's an anthology, so each episode doesn't lead directly into another, and it follows the stories of various Jedi. And before I get into spoilers, I will say that it's really good. They've improved the animation even further, which is kind of crazy to think about if you've seen the Clone Wars season 7 and then the Bad Batch. They still have taken this animation style to another level, and it is just great to see. I liked pretty much all the episodes, and I can't wait for more. So, this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to know anything about Tales of the Jedi, then now's your chance to go watch it and come back. So the first episode starts off with one of my favorite Jedi, Ahsoka. And this is a character that I pretty much grew up with. I remember seeing her in the Clone Wars way back in 2008. And over time, she really became one of the best characters in Star Wars. So to finally see her origin is pretty cool. So we see a village of Togrutas, and her father comes outside and basically tells everybody that his baby is born. Later, we see that when the babies are a year old, it's their village tradition for the mother to take them on a hunt. We also see this elder lady that seems to be more in tune with the environment. So Ahsoka's mother takes her as a baby still to go hunting, and it looks like she's hunting these animals that are mixed between deer, kangaroos, and gazelles. So Ahsoka's mom shoots one of these animals and is about to go collect it when a humongous saber-toothed tiger appears. And Ahsoka's mom tries to fight it off, and all the men in the village hear shots going off in the forest, so they all grab their guns and try to go help. And right as they arrive, the tiger just grabs Ahsoka and runs away. So then the tiger brings baby Ahsoka back to where it lives, and it looks like it's about to eat her, but young Ahsoka already shows signs of being force sensitive, and she just puts her hand on the tiger's nose and it calms down, and the tiger brings Ahsoka back to the village. So Ahsoka's mom asks the elder how that's even possible, and the elder says that Ahsoka is going to be a Jedi. So not really much in story there, but I'm not really expecting much from a 15-minute short. So it was cool to watch. Of course, it looks great, which I'm going to say about every single one, and I'm glad they made it. So the second episode, titled Justice, is about Count Dooku and his Padawan. So it opens up with them landing on this planet, and this place just looks horrible. It's really gray. The trees are all dead. There's some droids that are doing some work, but they're all busted and they're barely working. So they walk into the town, and the Padawan is saying, "Excuse me," and everybody closes their doors. You see people looking in the windows, and they close the windows and turn all the lights off. So clearly these people don't want to talk to any outsiders. So they walk into this bar, and Dooku says straight up, "Where's the child?" And then there's a woman that's like sitting in the corner, and she says, "Why should we give him to you?" And Dooku walks over and he says, "Let me be clear," and he puts his lightsaber on the table. So he's telling him he's a Jedi, but he's not there to be violent. And he says that he's there to resolve the situation. And the lady responds, "For the senator." And then the Padawan says, "For everyone." So from the get go, we see that these people already feel a certain way about this senator and Jedi, and they think Jedi just do whatever the politicians tell them to do. But Dooku and his Padawan say that they're there to resolve the situation the best way possible. They're not there for anybody. So the lady asked them what they know of Senator Dagonet, and the Padawan says that he is one of the longest standing senators in the Republic. And the lady responds saying that when they came here, they saw the effects of his long standing policies. So the Padawan asked if they don't like the senator, why don't they just vote him out? And the lady says that she wishes it was that simple. And that at one time, maybe the senator was a good person, but over time, he got worse and worse. Then she takes the two Jedi to the senator's kid. And then the Padawan says, "You're one of the kidnappers?" And then everybody in the bar stands up, and then Dooku says they all are. So pretty much this village is crying for help. And you can see everybody looks like they're either sickly or haven't eaten in a long time. This place is terrible. So they get to this barn and they reveal the son. And the two Jedi ask him if he has been treated well. He says yes. And that what he's been going through is nothing compared to what these people have gone through. And there's this giant droid there that looks pretty cool. The son says that he rarely leaves the capital, and when he does, he only goes to Coruscant, and he doesn't even blame these people for kidnapping him, and that he didn't even know about these conditions that these people are living in. Right at that moment, the senator pulls up with a bunch of soldiers, and the people think they're deceived, but Dooku says that they came there without telling the senator. And it's revealed that one of the townspeople told the senator where they were at, and all he had to do was give her some food. That's how hungry this person was. And the lady that we first met in the bar said that she doesn't blame her and that many people would do the same thing. So this is how terrible this planet is. We got people giving each other up just for some food. So the senator tells Count Dooku to arrest these people that kidnapped his son, and Dooku says that the investigation is still ongoing. And of course, the senator isn't going for that. So he has the soldiers point their guns at the townsfolk, and the townsfolk are pointing their guns back at the soldiers, and we have a situation going on. And the senator tells the Jedi to step aside, and Dooku says that nope, that we don't serve you, we serve the people of the Republic. So the senator actually has his soldiers fire on these people. And these people are clearly outmatched and outgunned even with the Jedi, because the Jedi aren't really trying to kill anybody. You know, with two Jedi, they could easily just either force push these guys away or actually cut them down with the lightsabers, but they're just standing there blocking, right? So a few people get shot, and then the senator tells his guys to stop. And the senator says that he's going to destroy this town to make an example of it, and that nobody can defy him, not even a Jedi. And then before he could finish his sentence, Count Dooku starts force choking him. So we can already see that darkness coming out of Dooku. So he starts force choking the senator, and the guards start shooting at him, trying to make him stop, and he just force pushes him away. His Padawan runs at him, and he actually force pushes him back. So when this happens, the Padawan goes inside the barn and lets the son out. And when the son runs in between his father and Dooku, Dooku stops. So we cut to the aftermath of this whole ordeal, and the senator's son tells the townspeople that he won't let their suffering continue. And then we have Count Dooku and his Padawan just talking, and he wonders if there's going to be any meaningful change. And then he tells his Padawan that he saved a lot of lives. And then it's here where it's revealed that this is Qui-Gon Jinn. So if you didn't know, Qui-Gon was Count Dooku's Padawan, and it was really cool to see them working together. Count Dooku is one of the most interesting characters to me. If you don't know his backstory and have only seen the movies, yeah, he was pretty cool, but I think the whole story about him originally being a Jedi and then turning to the Sith, but not really being pure evil like Palpatine is. So I think it was really cool to explore his life when he was younger and as a Jedi, and here we got to see that darkness come out. I think that was a really cool moment because we have this senator who's really a bad guy, and it's like, if he got force choked to death, I don't think anybody would care. But when you're a Jedi, you're not supposed to kill anybody. So this time it all worked out, but we all know what's coming. So again, I really think it was cool to see a young Dooku and a young Qui-Gon. This episode was really good. It had a great story. Of course, it looks great, just like all of these do. And this next episode is called Choices. So this one is about young Dooku again and Mace Windu. So Dooku and Mace Windu are sent to investigate the death of a Jedi Master Katri, and Dooku thinks that there's something else going on here, that the story isn't right, and Mace Windu just wants to follow the Council's orders and do what they're told. But again, Dooku isn't exactly about doing what he's told. So this one is about Count Dooku and Mace Windu. They're sent to this planet to retrieve Jedi Master Katri's body and bring it back so that they can have a funeral. But Dooku wants to do his own investigation over the Jedi's death because he has questions. He's wondering how a senator could escape, but a Jedi died, and Mace Windu just wants to follow the Council's orders and retrieve the body. But Dooku isn't about just doing what he's told. He's going to do what he wants to do. So they meet the senator, and Dooku was asking him questions, and Mace just wants to get the body and go back home. But Dooku asked if they could see where this incident where she died happened, and one of the guards volunteers to take them. Even Mace agrees that this senator is hiding something, but he wants to take the information back to the council. But Dooku wants to finish the job right there. So they get to the spot, and it's pretty easy for Dooku and Mace to figure out what happened. They look around, they see blast marks all over the trees, and they see no blast marks on the ship. And Dooku asks the senator, why is there no blast marks on the ship? And he says that it's rare for a Jedi to succumb to a surprise attack unless it was from someone they trust. Then he pulls out his lightsaber. Mace tells Dooku to stand down, and the senator runs toward the Jedi and tells him that the guards killed her. So now Mace got his lightsaber out too. So of course a firefight starts, and these two easily win. I mean, they're some of the most powerful Jedi, even though they're not really at their peak. You know, Dooku is probably more powerful as a Sith, and this is before Mace Windu was on the council, so he wasn't at his peak yet. But still, we have two Jedi that aren't Padawans. They're experienced. They're not old people, but they're not like 20-year-olds. So, you know, they know a lot about the Force and they've trained for a long time. So this is a pretty easy fight for them. They kill everybody except for one guard. So they ask this guy what happened, and he tells them that they killed Master Katri because they wanted to keep the senator alive and make him push their own agenda, because they didn't like the senator because he was using his Senate seat to get rich and sell out their planet. He was going to have people industrialize the planet and basically ruin it so he could get rich. And this guy tells the Jedi that they couldn't tell the Jedi and ask for help because the Jedi just do what the Senate tell them to do, and they don't really keep peace. They just help the rich and powerful. And you could tell that this is something that really hits Dooku. And on the inside, he's thinking about his place in the world. And Dooku goes to see the guy in jail, and he actually tells him that he agrees with some points in his ideology and that he doesn't agree with his methods, but he has every right to protect his planet. And then, as they're about to leave, Dooku asks Mace if he thinks that the Jedi will still keep peace, and Mace says that they're guided by the Council and not by politics or ego. But if you've seen the prequels, you know that the Jedi were pretty much guided by politics. And at the funeral, we can see a bunch of Jedi there, like Tara Sinube and Saesee Tiin, which we see in the Clone Wars and the movies. And after the funeral, Dooku tells Mace Windu that he knows that he's going to be on the council. And he asks if he knew that before they went on their mission. And Mace says that he didn't know. And you can tell that Dooku is feeling some type of way about it. And Mace says that he stuck to the mission and Dooku was the one that went off track. And that's probably why Dooku didn't get a council seat. But again, we can see that Dooku pretty much just does what he wants. And it's not surprising that this person ends up leaving the Jedi. And this next episode is called The Sith Lord. So this episode opens up with Count Dooku looking a little older now in the Jedi archive, and he actually deletes the record of the planet Kamino. So if you remember from the movies, in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan needs to go to this planet Kamino, but when he goes to the archive, there's no record of it. And we see Dooku walking through the Jedi Temple, and he sees Master Jocasta. We know her from the movies and the Clone Wars, and she tells him that Qui-Gon has encountered a Sith Lord. So we know that this short is taking place at the same time as the Phantom Menace. And it cuts to Qui-Gon walking through the Jedi, and it cuts to Qui-Gon walking through the Jedi Temple with Yaddle. And it's really cool to see Yaddle because we only see her in the Jedi Council in the Phantom Menace for a few seconds. So, of course, the fans are always speculating about her because she's the same species as Yoda. And for a long time before Grogu's existence, she was the only other person of the same species as Yoda that we've seen. So it's really nice to finally see Yaddle getting some shine. And Dooku goes up to Qui-Gon and asks him about the Sith Lord. And of course, they talk about the council not really believing him, and Yaddle's there, and she says that they should all just be cautious. And then Dooku says that he wishes to meet Obi-Wan someday. And later, Dooku finds out about Qui-Gon's death, and Yaddle can tell that there's something wrong with Dooku. So when Dooku flies away, Yaddle goes and follows him. And we can already see we're going to the industrial part of Coruscant, and we're going to Palpatine's Sith hideout. And Dooku is talking to Palpatine, and he's clearly mad that Maul killed Qui-Gon. And Palpatine's just like, well, you lost an apprentice, and so did I, because we know that Obi-Wan killed Maul, or so we thought at the time. And Dooku is saying that Qui-Gon could have been a powerful ally, and that Palpatine is questioning his loyalty, and he's saying he did everything he asked for him with Sifo Dyas, Camino, and the clones, so he's the reason that Sifo Dyas died. And Yaddle confronts Dooku and Palpatine. Yaddle saying she just wants to help Dooku and bring Palpatine to justice, and now Dooku has a choice to make. So we have a story that's paralleling a lot of the things that we've seen throughout the Star Wars movies, like Anakin's choice, Luke's choice, and Palpatine tells Dooku to kill Yaddle to prove his loyalty, and so he does. And we get a great lightsaber fight. Yaddle ends up getting crushed in the big hangar door. And Palpatine is so funny. He's like peeking through his hood smiling. So that episode was an absolute banger. It was sad to see Yaddle die, but we only see her in episode one, so we know that between episode one and two that she dies at some point. And I think her death was in a book a long time ago, which of course this retconned. But again, this episode was great. We saw Dooku truly become the Sith that we know him as. We see the heartbreaking death of Yaddle. We see Palpatine let out his cackle for a little bit. And again, the episode looks great, animated so well. You know, this is the type of stuff that I like to see from Star Wars. I think animation is such a great place for Star Wars to thrive. This next episode is called Practice Makes Perfect, and it's about Ahsoka. And we see her as a really young Jedi training. She's doing the exercise where the little floating ball droids are shooting the little fake blast at her, and she has to block it with a lightsaber. And we see Anakin, Obi-Wan, Master Tara Sinube, Plo Koon, Mace Windu, Yoda, a young Kanan Jarrus, and his master Depa all watching. Now, this is confusing because when we first meet Ahsoka in the Clone Wars movie in 2008, Obi-Wan had already cut his hair off because we know in episode 2 he has the long hair, and then in episode 3 he has the short hair. But when we first see him in the Clone Wars, he already has the short hair. And right here it looks like this is after that moment because Anakin knows Ahsoka already. Because like I said, he first met her in the Clone Wars movie, and the war had been going on for a few months already. So we already see Obi-Wan with the short hair, and here he has long hair. So did he grow it out and cut it again? I don't really understand. And Ahsoka asked Anakin how she did, and he basically tells her that she don't want to know. And they walk outside, and Ahsoka asks, "What's the problem?" And we can see, some Jedi that are looking, and obviously Anakin doesn't want to talk about this in public. And we see Jedi Saesee Tin and Amagundi looking, which is kind of funny. We see Amagundi in the Clone Wars for a little bit, and his name is literally "I'm gonna die," so we know what happens to him in the episode that he's in. But it's funny they showed him again. So Anakin says that that test isn't really good and that he's gonna come up with a real test. And Ahsoka says, okay, and she's ready for anything. So the test is Anakin has a bunch of clones standing in a circle around Ahsoka, and they all have to shoot at her, and she has to block as many as she can. And the reasoning behind this is droids are predictable and humans are not. So Anakin wants her to be as best as she can be, not just be ready for droids, but be ready for anything that can happen because you're not just going to be fighting droids in your lifetime. You know, someday the Clone Wars are going to end or you're going to have some other kind of adventures where you're going to have to go against something else. And we see Captain Rex and we even get a cameo from Jesse. So of course, when they first start doing it, it doesn't really go well for Ahsoka, but as she does it more and more, she gets better and better. And it turns out that this exercise really prepared Ahsoka for Order 66, and they actually put a little bit from that time in Clone Wars Season 7 when Ahsoka and Rex are about to go outside and try to escape from all the clones that are coming after them. And it was sad to see Jesse on the other side of that in the end. So that episode was pretty cool. It was interesting to see all of the old character designs, but in the updated art style. You know, the Phase 1 clone armor, Anakin and Obi-Wan in their Clone Wars armor. But again, I am confused by Obi-Wan's hair. I mean, did he really grow it out and then cut it again? I don't really understand, but whatever. Maybe they just did that because it was a reference to the 2003 Clone Wars series where we see Obi-Wan with long hair in the beginning and he's wearing the clone armor and stuff. So maybe that's all it is. But again, these are all supposed to be canon, so it is kind of confusing why he has long hair. But still, great episode. And the fact that she did all that training with the clones just for the clones to end up trying to kill her in the end is even sadder. So, and the sixth and last episode is called Resolve. And it opens up with Ahsoka being at Padme's funeral. And we see Bail Organa go up to Ahsoka and basically tell her that she needs to leave because it's dangerous. And we see some Coruscant Guard clones patrolling. And he gives her a device to contact him if she needs anything. And as Ahsoka's walking to her ship, we get another Captain Rex cameo. It's always nice to see Captain Rex. And later, Ahsoka is a farmer on some random planet, obviously trying to keep a low profile since all the Jedi are being hunted. And what happens to every Jedi that is in this situation? There's something that happens that causes them to use the Force to save somebody. And of course, that's going to reveal them as a Jedi. And now they're in danger because people are probably scared of the Jedi because they know if they're friends with one, then the Empire will come after them. And it's really just not a good idea. But of course, this happens. A giant pile of hay is about to fall on somebody, and Ahsoka uses the Force to save this person. And of course, somebody found out and told the Empire, and an Inquisitor shows up and ends up burning down the whole village because Ahsoka happened to be away doing farm stuff, and when she comes back, there's only a few people left. And this is funny too because this is probably the coolest looking Inquisitor. It's definitely my favorite Inquisitor design out of all of them. And I've seen all the other shows, and I played the game Jedi Fallen Order. So I've seen all the Inquisitors, and I wasn't really a fan of any of their designs besides maybe the Grand Inquisitor, but other than that, I don't really care for them. But this guy actually looked cool. He has this cool cape and a mask. But again, the Inquisitors are mostly a joke, like to any formidable Jedi. Everything about them is a gimmick. Like this guy, he has a mask on, but there's no reason to wear a mask. They use double-bladed and spinny lightsabers for no reason because they're not really strong, so they just have to use gimmicks to fight. And Ahsoka doesn't even have her lightsaber, and she defeats this guy in like 5 seconds. So I guess this fits with the Star Wars trend of making cool designs and then having them die really quick. So, but once again, it looks great. And Ahsoka should defeat somebody like this really quick. It was the same thing like in the show Rebels. The Inquisitors are no match for her. So we see that same thing here, and she calls in her favor from Bail Organa to get this family off of this planet. And it ends with Ahsoka saying she's ready to get back into the fight. So that was it for Tales of the Jedi. I hope we get another season. I think there's endless potential for this kind of thing. I've said time and time again, there's still unfinished Clone Wars that I hope we get to see finished. There's an unfinished episode with Yoda and the Bad Batch on Kashyyyk. There was something with Obi-Wan going to Utapau, and there's another great moment between Obi-Wan and Anakin talking about Ahsoka leaving the Order. There's Son of Dathomir, the story where Maul escapes from Palpatine after he was captured, and Dark Disciple, which is the story of Quinlan Voss going on a mission and turning to the dark side and actually working with Asajj Ventress. So I really hope we get to see more Tales of the Jedi, and it would be really amazing to me if they did the stories that I just mentioned. So again, this is what I love to see from Star Wars. Animation is such a great tool because you don't have the same limitations as live action. You can show a guy who's 70 years old doing backflips, and you can show as many aliens as you want, spaceships and things like that, because you don't have to worry about the props and the CGI and things like that. So I really hope they do more and more Star Wars animation. And I almost forgot to mention that the score of Tales of the Jedi is so good. It really helps drive home the emotional moments. So again, Tales of the Jedi is great. It's definitely one of my favorite things to come out this year, and I hope we get more. So that does it for another episode of FilmJet. Thank you to anybody listening. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FilmJetPod, and I'll see you guys next time.